Alrighty, so it is week 2 in CIT 95, Introduction to Python, and this will be the last video I record before the actual start of our 9-week adventure together. Okay, so I've been trying to work ahead. If you didn't hear me say this, it's worth repeating right now, is that this course that we're going through in Udemy is a new course I have not used before. And quite frankly, I'm just a little ahead of you. I looked at the course enough to know what was being covered and how it was being covered, and I have not personally been disappointed in any way in the way this course is being offered and the just Dr. Angela, her style. I guess this really works for me. But again, I've went through several Udemy courses, and I like it. I hope you do as well. I know that can vary, but I also know that this idea of the way I've stacked the content can, right? Hopefully help it's the hope is let me say it this way. The hope is that I'm structuring it in a way that helps you be successful. But I want to reiterate something that she repeats. And the part of the reason I was really drawn to this course is these are things that I've been saying and harping on in my programming classes prior to now. And as she offers up her exercises, and then later we call them challenges when we get to about day 6 or 7, and the importance of allowing yourself that space and time to really see and attempt to do the challenges. And so I know that it can be really tempting to just move and see the a solution. And I have to say, I've done it for the first time. I think it was in 7. There was somewhere where she was doing the robot. It was either 6 or 7. I think it was 6 at the end. And I was actually traveling as I was doing it. And I just couldn't wrap my head around it. But I realized is this was what was happening for me, is I was tired. I was sincerely tired. And it was like my head just, and I was on a train. There was distraction. So the thing I would say is you definitely want to give those challenges their due, because what they're doing, just like, and this analogy is probably overused, but just as very similar to the idea of exercise. Like I exercise 4 to 5 days a week, and the more I exercise, the better I feel, and the more it just becomes natural to me, not so foreign. I don't get anxious. I used to get anxious before workouts. And I think that's very similar when it comes to coding. Okay. That it's really normal to have this feeling, especially when you're being challenged to learn a skill and learn it fairly fast, right? Is that you really can have a level. And I don't want to say you because I don't know your experience, which, by the way, I'm always interested in hearing. Please come see me during office hours. If you don't know where my office hours is, oh, yes, this is a plug. Check the syllabus. But in general, right, I offer generally most of my office hours, well, Monday and Tuesday are at 1 to 1:50. Wednesday is the one I offer later. So if your schedule needs later, right? And then if my office hours, okay, I'm continuing with this plug. If these office hours don't work for you, definitely reach out to me. Like I will do my best to work with you. If you give me a little bit of heads up, like if you ask me to meet with you in an hour, chances are in the afternoon, I'm either already on to other things and have already scheduled myself. So the more heads up you can give me, as an example, like 12 to 24 hours, this is, hey, could you meet with me outside of that? Totally optional. Totally an option. Please use it. And also lean into the Discord. Please, and I know I said this because I just watched it recently, please lean into the idea of asking questions out there. And I know for folks that are new to coding, sometimes that can be really fraught with emotional issues like I don't know enough to even ask. So anyway, blah blah blah. Let me get back to my original topic, which was what? Oh yeah, so the course, right? So the course that we're on and the pace that we're at. So this week there's an increase in the pace, but before we actually look at this week's days and talk about the Learn Together that we have this week. I want to say something that I do on my systems because now at this point, you're all going to be coding from your local environments, okay, your local dev environments. So, you know, one thing I do, let me just move over to my VS Code real quick, is I just looked at this. So normally, let me just get rid of this, right? So this is actually where I ended the Learn Together. I was playing around and pre-learning some function setup. But I just want you to know one thing I do. Once you get Python and you get the Python extension, right? So if you go into extensions, all had you install the Python extension. Is this the one? I don't have two installed, do I? I should only have one. I wonder why. Oh, that might be an old one. Yeah, that's probably an old one from before. But for sure, and you want the Microsoft, and this is already what I covered on this setup. But I also recommend doing Pylance. Now, the reason this is great is it's a linter, and a linter is really just a way to catch your syntax issues, and it's a style thing as well. We can implement style in this linter. So let me just show you this, just FYI. So once I install this extension, it is now enabled in my system. Then what I can do is go into Command Palette, and I've already been here, but you can type in Python, and you're going to select the linter. And the linter I recommend is Code Style. So this is what I have in mind. And what happens is when you're in files, again, this is a little ahead of this is code you haven't seen yet. But what happens is down at the bottom, right? You've learned how to run code, but there's problems. And problems are style issues generally, not syntax that won't let your code run. Like this code will run fine, but I have 7 problems in there, and most of it is just minor stuff. But what we want to do is write good Python code, well styled. So now here's why I'm saying this. Let me actually move back to here. Is that there's something, and I've been using it as of last semester, and it's a PEP 8 Python style basically. And what happens is it's a style guide. Style guides are very common when you're doing coding, and adhering to a particular style guide is just good practice. If you continue on and do professional development, you'll see this. So what I do is I set up to end to write code that's PEP 8 compliant. Again, you don't have to do it this week, but you're going to want to do it soon, because the sooner you get used to these things, the better. Okay. So let me show you in reality what happens, right? So what happens here is, like, if you go through and look, it tells me, like, if I'm actually at the end, right? And it's like a blank line at the end. So all that means is, like, it doesn't want you to have a blank line. Like, if you're not doing anything with that, get rid of it. It wants two lines between each function. Actually, it's probably here that it wanted it, right? So yeah, so in this case, did I have a space there? What was the other issue? Oh, actually, no, I guess it did want one new line. Okay, but it didn't want two, right? So now, and what this is just making me write good. Now, this def thing is for functions. You haven't seen them yet, so don't worry about it. You'll see it later. But again, this is just like simple stuff. Like, it wants two lines there. Oh, okay. So it helps you write good code, like the import statement that you're going to see. It wants this at the top. It doesn't want it here, right? So I'm just going to cut it out here. Cut it out here. I got to reach down to the keyboard, right? Put it at the top. Okay. So again, I'm down to 3. So what's my point? My point on the attendance is this, right? First, is there any feedback, right? From week 1, how this is going so far? And then writing beautiful Python code is really the point of my whole discussion here, right? Is that is really helpful, because the sooner you start writing to a particular style, and PEP 8 is one I think that is most commonly used. It is a good practice. Okay. So, of course, now I'm going to release, as I said, before this semester starts. I've already got these weeks set up. And one thing I noticed as I was working through them, and I'll just show you, I didn't record a video for each one, but what I did this time is I gave a print screen of what the files that you're creating, right? Now, I haven't shown what's in them because that's, of course, your job to do. And if I look at the how to document here, right? So for day 3, one thing, of course, right? Some of this is just instruction of what you want to do. You need to write something here. And what you can do on these is, of course, you're writing the Python code, right? And you can write, and I say some notes for the comparison operator, and then I give you a commit message here. And then one thing I had said before is, especially on these exercises, right? So these interactive exercises, and this is what I was saying before, which is to give yourself time. One thing you can do if you write code, right, and you get a solution working good, then comment that and go ahead and do a commit that shows your code. And then you can write or update your code with her example, right? So if you think her code is better than the one you wrote, you can do that. And you can just do another commit. I don't say it in here, right? Because I do think I want to give students some flexibility of how they approach this. But in general, I want you to know that because I actually started implementing this in my JavaScript class because again, this idea of giving yourself some time to really approach and do these challenges is so important. Okay. But I do like to see your challenge. And what you do is, if you write your challenge code, your code to, and I say challenge here, it's the exercise, and then you commit that, and then you write her solution and you commit that. That's another way so that you don't have both code in there and just more comments than you need. But again, I'm going to give you some flexibility on how you do that. That's just a suggestion. Okay. The rest of this is, and then end with, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say. So of course on this one, how'd you feel about today's work? And then on your README file, on stuff like where you're creating and coding in here, you can just put, like, in your file, video 28, and just put done, right? Complete. Or any other comment you want to make to me would be fine as well about that. Okay. So sorry, and now in this case, there was some notes that I asked for, so maybe it's not the best example. Or maybe here on 28, you can just say complete, and then you just put the heading for the next one, okay? And again, I'm kind of evolving this with you, not kind of, I am evolving this with you because this is new. I've not set up the course this way before, okay? All right, so now this week is different in this sense that we have, right? We have day 3, day 4, day 5. Okay. So yeah, these do take, I would say, depending on where you come into this experience of coding, can take more than an hour, less than an hour. It really depends. I've noticed I'm right about where she's estimating, like she has an hour and 36 minutes of content. I'm somewhere around there for most of completing these, but sometimes they take a little longer because, again, I want to give myself that time to do it. So here's my suggestion. Okay. I know this is not going to be a surprise. But part of the reason I release early, and by the way, there's already been a pretty good number of you already completed week 1, which kind of made me push to get week 2 done before the start of the semester, right? So that's why I did it. But, try to, I set this up. I think it works better to actually look at the calendar versus like this. So if I had to look at the calendar for our course, and let me just roll forward 1 week because I'm recording this, of course, early, right? Is that, I have a day scheduled for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you have a learn together. So this is a pretty hefty week. So the sooner you can work on this, the better, right? And then next week we have 2 day 6 and 7, and then you have your first development project. Now, I actually start talking about this here in week 2, okay, just to give you an idea of what's heading at you and what this entails. And we actually do a little work and to learn together to help you kind of start thinking about and planning for that work that's here. So more about this in week 3, which Again, I will not most likely record until the semester starts, which is not that far away. Look at this. Like, I'm recording this on Thursday. My JavaScript class is ending next week, and I am excited. Like I said, I already got a good number of you already starting. So that's great. And congratulations on doing that. So let me come back here just for a minute, make sure I complete all this. So I've talked about in week 2, um, writing beautiful code, the idea of getting help, any feedback you would have on week 1. um, let's see. And actually, what would be great here as well, if there's a question you encounter, right? You can ask it here or ask it out on Discord. Let me say this again. I got several of you already on Discord. Remember that when you join the Discord server, we do have Aaron. Aaron is our tutor for Python, so this is also great. When you come into Discord and you're here, you have to ask to be added into the channel. The channel is for the course, or is private, away from all of the other traffic that happens on this channel, which I would love to see more of. Right. So Daniel's, I hope you don't mind me. Here's a good example. Came in, went into the start here, and asked to be added into the channel, and so he has been added into there. Okay, so keep that in mind. And this is a great question, a great place if you feel like it also to ask questions as well. Okay, I think that's it. All right, welcome to week 2. Let's get this week started. Have a great one. See you later.